Correctional Services welcome decision on Advocate Barbie and proceedings in Jub murder trial interrupted by rain. Good afternoon. The Correctional Services Department has welcomed the decision of the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria to struck off the roll an urgent application by convicted sex molester former Advocate Suzanne Visser. Visser, who was known as Advocate Barbie, approached the court to ask that her remaining sentence be commuted to community service. She was convicted by the same court on 11 out of 14 sex charges involving underage girls 3 years ago. The court has ruled that Visser's application is not urgent and has dismissed it with costs. Correctional Services spokesperson Ofense Morwane.
As a department, we feel delighted that the matter has been struck off the roll for the lack of agency, particularly with the fact that the court has ruled in favor of the department with all costs. What this simply means is that the offender will continue to serve her imprisonment at Pretoria Correctional Facility in this particular case.
On Point Engineering, a company which has links with expelled ANC Youth League President Julius Malema, is still doing business with Limpopo Roads and Transport Department. This despite Public Protector Thuli Madonsela's recommendation that the company's contract be terminated immediately. Yesterday, Madonsela released the findings of her investigation into the awarding of tenders in Limpopo. She found that On Point shareholders, which also includes Malema's Ratanang Family Trust, has benefited improperly from the tender which the company was awarded. Earlier, the department said it was still studying Madonsela's report. Spokesperson Joshua Kwapa.
We are currently studying the contents of the report, after which we'll make a statement. But the contract between us and On Point is coming to an end next week, Tuesday. As we are studying the contents of the report, it will form part of the overall statement that we will issue after we have gone through the entire report.
A fourth truck has been set alight in Cape Town today. This brings the total number of trucks damaged this week to at least 14. Two other trucks were set alight early this morning in Belleville and another one in Baden-Powell Drive in Muizenberg. The latest incident was in Lansdowne Road in Philippi. The driver, Nasir Hassan, explains what happened.
So as we were coming down the road, 6 Africans came out, out onto the street, and they had bricks in their hand, and they threw onto the windscreen, and and they start throwing us, through the window onto us and tell us to say where we must jump off. And as we jumped off, they put the truck to fire.
Proceedings in the Jub murder trial in the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto have been disrupted by rain. Earlier, Magistrate Brian Nembidi said musician Malema Jub Marahanye had contradicted himself when he denied ever taking drugs or seeing people taking drugs during his testimony. Nembidi was summarizing evidence in the murder trial of Jub and his co-accused, Themba Shabalala. The magistrate says Jub had seen people in the music industry taking drugs. The SABC's Paul Magubana reports on the proceedings before the disruption.
Magistrate Brian Nembidi says Jub first accused the police of tampering with the evidence and then said the drugs could have entered his system through what he called secondary smoking. Nembidi said Jub was questioned about how cocaine was consumed. He said through sniffing, injecting it, or smoking. Jub then said this is what he saw in the movies. Judgment will continue tomorrow. Toma Kobane, SABC News, Protea Magistrates Court.
UN Cultural Agency UNESCO says it is in its worst ever financial situation after the US froze funding last year. The UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization was plunged into crisis in October 2011 when Washington cancelled its grant in protest at the body's decision to grant the Palestinians full membership. The UN body says it's been forced to slash spending, freeze job hires and cut programs. UNESCO designates World Heritage Sites, promotes global education and supports press freedom, among other things. On to our final story now, and Chinese writer Mo Yan has been named the winner of a 10 million rand Nobel Prize in Literature. The Swedish Academy says Mo's technique merges folk tales, history and the contemporary. European authors had won 4 of the past 5 awards, with last year's prize going to Swedish poet Thomas Tranströmer. Recapping the top story this hour, the Correctional Services Department has welcomed the decision of the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria to struck off the roll an urgent application by convicted sex molester, former advocate Suzanne Visser.